What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Deadbolt back with another Pokemon TCG online video. So, I know you're wondering, why the hell is the deck list very small? And it's because I'm going to be showcasing Gyarados. It's a stage 1 Pokemon with 150 HP. That's good. That's good. Very tanky. And for 1 energy, it does 30 damage for Distilled Blast. That's pathetic. But you gotta reveal the top 7 cards of your deck, and it does more damage depending on how many water energy you find there, and the rest gets discarded. So it does a maximum of 240 damage with just 1 energy, and that sounds really good. So in order to achieve that win condition, we're running 30 water energies. Yes, your deck is gonna be flooded with nothing but energy. Pun intended. So with that, you gotta get your setups immediately. You know, you want to set up your board, you want to get your Magikarp out so you can get the kill. But how do you do that? You run Crash Awake, and what you do is you just discard 2 water energy cards from your hand, and if you do, you get to search for 2 cards of your choice. That's good because your deck is just gonna be filled with this, and you can search whatever cards you want. You also run Professor Zelm's Lecture, that lets you search for 3 Pokemon with 60 HP or less. And hey, conveniently Magikarp has 30 HP, so it's a perfect target. Magikarp, your choice is either Submerge or Enter the Dragon. People prefer Enter the Dragon like as a 1 choice. I run all 4 Submerge because I know Pikachu Zekrom is a popular deck right now, and they rely on getting that snipe to get the advantage. And I know other people like to play Tapu Koko and all that, so it's just based on preference. You know, you want that protection or you want that extra chance of getting another Magikarp. Another Gyarados. So yeah, man, I also run a Ditto Prism Star because having the extra Gyarados out is nice, you know, if you can manage your weight out. Having 5 Magikarps out in the field, you just set up. So, since the deck list is very small, I'm just gonna explain every tech option in this deck, you know, so it's up to you if you want to run this. Alolan Vulpix, I run 3 of. You can run 4, it don't matter. I run Alolan Vulpix because I want this as my starting hand, and I try to get it out first turn, or if I go second, so I can use this attack. Beacon lets me search up to 2 Pokemon and lets me search up to Gyarados much faster. I run Rescue Stretcher because the Gyarados attack, most likely I'm gonna discard any Gyaradoses that gets revealed, and as well as that I can recover any Gyarados that has been taken out. So, and I run Timer Ball. I run 3 of these because Vulpix is not fast enough. Even though it helps me get the search out and it's more reliable, Timer Ball, if I'm lucky, I can get 2 heads and I can get myself 2 evolution Pokemon, which lets me set up my game faster. Because if I can get all 4 Gyarados in my hand, then I can just ditch the Vulpix and just start with my plays, you know? I run Brooklet Hill. I run 2 right now. I'm testing between 2 and 3. I've been having a lot more fun with 3. I've been testing out 2 to be a little bit more consistent with my damage. But Brooklet Hill is also good because it lets you search out the Magikarps, it lets you search out the Vulpix. Unfortunately, it does not let you search out the Ditto, so you gotta find a way to get that immediately, because this card has to be out immediately, because if you discard it, it's gone, and you want to take advantage of its effect. So, buff padding. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that Gyarados' retreat cost is 4. So it can take advantage of this, making its HP up to 200, making it a very, very tanky Pokemon. And that's very good against specific decks. And Choice Band as well, of course, if you're playing against GX Pokemon, it boosts your damage up to 270, which lets you one-shot anything. So, almost anything. It doesn't one-shot the, Wailord GX, which has 300 HP, well, Wailord and Magikarp GX actually, so yeah, thanks for the quick introduction. I just want to point out that recording this video was very tough because of the amount of people who kept rage quitting against the deck once I got my setup, so it was hard for me to do a match like record a match, but I managed to find myself an acceptable match, and I won't be showcasing two, but I'll showcase some like clips, you know, of people rage quitting later on. So I hope you enjoy it. But in the meantime, let's get started with the gameplay. Okay, in this match, I lost the coin flip, but since I'm running Alolan Vulpix, it's nice to go second. Fortunately, I start with the Vulpix, but unfortunately, I have no other Pokemon to back me up. So, the problem with this deck is that its consistency is very horrible. You're running nothing but energies, meaning that you're going to get dead draws like throughout the game. You can't rely on top decks because it's not going to help you. You're going to get yourself a water energy every time. So, the thing about starting with Alolan Vulpix is that you can get your turn out, you can get your key cards out, but if it's the only one on the field, expect it to get knocked down and lose the game, you know? Get a first turn win and all that. So my opponent starts out with his Trico, and he's running the Execute, and he does play Shuckle, which lets him discard 3 energy of any kind into the discard pile. What Alolan Executor does is that it does damage depending on how many different types of energies are in your discard pile, up to a maximum of 100, so you want to get 5 different ones out. And that's what people play Shuckles to get that win condition much easier. So I play the Timer Ball, and I do get myself, I get lucky and get myself 1 heads, so which lets me search for a Gyarados, because when you start prepping the deck out, you want to start thinning your deck. So I use Alolan Vulpix to get myself the Ditto and the Magikarp, and I end my turn, hoping my opponent does have an answer. So my opponent does play another Execute, and he does play himself, he does play Find a Friend, so he does have a dead hand, and he uses it to search for a Grovyle. I'm assuming, I thought that he was going to play a Sceptile deck, but he's not. People play Grovyle because it's a really good card for support to get yourself any key cards that you want, because Grovyle lets you search for any grass type Pokemon. That's a basic. So it can get you, I mean, not any basic, it can be, I think it could be any grass type Pokemon in general. Excuse me, sorry about that mistake. So I get lucky and I get myself the Brooklet Hill, and I set up with another Magikarp, so I don't have to worry about searching it with Vulpix again, because I do have the Stadium to help me search that out. And that's nice, you know, because I run Brooklet Hill because I want to use Crash Awake's effect and search for basic Pokemon as well, so thinning my deck out is really nice. So my opponent uses Grovyle's effect to search for an Alolan Executor, so he does have the setup ready, and he does attach the energy onto it, and he plays Bodybuilding Dumbbells. Unfortunately, Alolan Executor has a 3 retreat cost, so he cannot take advantage of Muscle Band, which gives him the extra 50, so he has to rely on Bodybuilding Dumbbells, which isn't bad per se, but having that extra 10 health is nice because it only increases it up to 200. Should have been 210, you know. So I do play Professor Elm's Lecture to get my last Magikarps out. I kind of did a misplay here. It isn't a game-breaking misplay, but I should have searched out 2 Alolan Vulpix and then searched out Magikarp with the Brooklet Hill, so I could thin my deck out, and I realized this. But luckily, I do get myself enough water energy to get enough damage to knock that out. And that's what you want to do, is just start attacking as soon as possible, because you're just milling your deck. And you want to get those energies, you want to make your deck concentrated with nothing but energies. So my opponent switches to another Execute, and he does switch to a he uses Grovyle's effect to search out for another Alolan Executor. See, it's like both decks run similarly. If my opponent did run Lurantis, he would probably knock out my Gyarados, because both cards are very tanky. That's the beauty of those 2 cards, is that they're very tanky in its battle of 2 giants. But my opponent, I'm assuming because the card's a promo card and it's very hard to get without shilling money, so he isn't going to get any damage from that. He's only going to do like 120, and that's not enough to kill it. If he had like 2 Lurantis out on the field, he would just knock out my Gyarados every turn, and this would have been a loss. I do top deck. A Professor Elm's Lecture lets me search for the last Alolan Vulpix, which can help. You know, thinning your deck out is good. So I do play another Distilled Blast, and that's enough to knock him out. Even though I only needed like not that much because I had 160 rather than 200, but still. My Rescue Stretchers are getting discarded too. Rescue Stretcher is another card you want to get immediately from your search because your Gyarados is going to be knocked out a lot. And you're not going to have any backup because you're not running any more backups. And my opponent does scoop up, and that's the only game I can only offer. So I can show you guys like the amount of times my opponent has rage quit. So alright, in this match right here, I do get a really good start in this game, and I don't get the Alolan Vulpix, which isn't a big deal because I can use Professor Elm's Lecture to get it out. Crash Awake and Professor Elm's Lecture is a very good start. So like I was saying, is that I searched the Rescue Stretchers immediately because you don't have any other Pokemon to help you fight, and most likely you can't recover your Gyarados that easily. So the only way to do it is just to get a Rescue Stretcher and just put another one out from the dead. And most likely you're not going to shuffle them unless you have a way to search for them specifically. So you're just only going to use Rescue Stretcher's effect just to bring it back from the discard pile back to your hand. So my opponent does get 2 Jirachis, and he does get a really good start with his deck. I'm facing Charizard decks. I've been facing a lot of Charizard decks recently against this deck, and in my opinion, I think that Gyarados beats it only if you can get your setup out immediately. Because if you have a bad hand, of course you're gonna lose. So then I get a better start. I get myself a Brooklet Hill, and I top deck with the Alolan Vulpix, meaning that I can play Professor Elm's Lecture for free. Search my deck for like 3 Magikarps or 2 Magikarps and a Ditto. So getting that deck fitness is very nice. So I do have 4 Magikarps on my bench right here. And I'm ready for the setup. So I just play Beacon, and I search my deck for 2 Gyarados, meaning that one's prized. And that's good because only using Vulpix once is very optimal because you're just ready for next turn and hoping you get your prize card. So that's what I like about this deck, is that it can be consistent only if you if you get lucky. So starting with the Crash Awake, you can search for Brooklet Hill. That's what I do first. I search for Brooklet Hill. I search for Rescue Stretcher. And those are the 2 top cards I want to get. I was teaching my friend how to play this deck. I was showing this deck off to my friend, and he kept using Crash Awake on searching the Pokemon itself. And I'm just telling him, like, well, what's the point of doing that? You want to thin your deck out so you can get your win condition much faster. Because most of the cards, when you attack, your cards are gone. You're not going to use them anymore, and you might as well get them immediately and just thin your deck out so you can increase the chances of damage. Because if you get really unlucky and you start revealing nothing but trainers and Pokemon, it's going to hurt you a lot. So getting that set up is very good. So my opponent does play Charizard, and he uses Erica's Hospitality to get himself a big hand. So yeah, this deck kind of loses to Erica because you're going to get your Magikarp out on the bench. So my opponent does use Stellar Wish, and he just reveals a Choice Band, so not a big difference right here. Choice Band is like, you're gonna see your opponent just drop Choice Bands for no reason when you play this deck. Like, one prize attackers, this is always the thing. So my opponent does play the Counter Energy, hoping that if it survives, it can attack next turn. That's what some variants run, is that they run Counter Energy just in case. They run Victini Prism Star too. So my opponent knocks me out for 130, which is I think a big misplay because my opponent should have just started setting up his cards, and then he gets a Rage Quit because knowing I can just trade for it for kills and all that. Alright, this is the last match I want to feature today. This is also another Rage Quit, but I lost the coin flip, but my opponent gets to go first. I mean, my opponent gets to go second, excuse me, which isn't good for me. I mean, it's nice getting the evolution, but it's hard. So my opponent does mulligan, and would you look at that, my opponent is also playing a Gyarados deck. Unfortunately, he had a mulligan 7 times because he's just running, like, his hand, he's running Cynthia. You don't want to run Cynthia, you don't want to run Ultra Balls. I should have just went through this guy's deck when I got the chance, but looking at his mulligan, he gave me 7 free cards. It went from a horrible hand to, like, a really good hand just because of that. And that's what consistency matters. That's why it matters, because I don't want to give my opponent, like, 7 free cards. Because he probably would have won that. He would have won that game if he didn't mulligan. So I do switch out to the Alolan Vulpix and I play the Timer Ball. Unfortunately, I don't get anything, but it's not a big deal because I got Alolan Vulpix next turn. So yeah, my opponent's debating. I don't think my opponent does run Alolan Vulpix in his deck, so I think he just realized he messed up because I can just go for a kill. So he does play the Brooklet Hill, which is something I really wanted because it benefits me and him. So whoever gets it first out, it don't matter. And my opponent just scoops. He has no option. He knows his deck wasn't consistent enough to win that. So my final thoughts for this deck. I know it's not consistent, but I still love to play this. It's a very fun deck to try out. It's not going to win you games every time, but if it does, it's gonna be a blast. So yeah, honestly, how this deck runs, it's like you're running onto oncoming traffic in a freeway, so if you ever stop, you're just gonna get hit. So might as well just keep going and just keep going with that snowball. So it's like Lost Merge, but without the whole setup, without the whole consistency. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, leave a thumbs up, and if you don't like it, that's okay. If you want to see more videos in the future, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I will see you guys next time.